The sensor array aboard the Concordance patrol ship Vigilant Harmony had been silent for 73 cycles. In the empty gulf between spiral arms, silence was expected. It was why Junior Sensor Officer Teller found the sudden cascade of alerts so deeply unsettling. Captain Eric's. Teller's voice emerged as a modulated hum from the containment sphere that housed her gaseous form. I have an anomaly. Metallic signature, approximately 0.7 astronomical units distant. Captain Eric's rotated several of his facets toward the main display. He was Catharian, his body a complex geometric arrangement of crystalline structures that refracted the bridges, soft lighting into prismatic patterns across the walls. When he spoke, his voice resonated through controlled vibrations in his matrix. Classification. Processing. Teller's sphere pulsed with agitation, the gases within swirling more rapidly. Spectral analysis indicates ferrous alloys, titanium composite, primitive carbon scoring. Captain, the metallurgical profile dates this object at approximately 5,000 standard years old. Navigator Quinn rippled in his containment tank, his translucent liquid form briefly forming what might have been interpreted as a frown, before dissolving back into fluid motion. Debris field. Ancient battlefield. Negative. Teller's voice tightened with something approaching alarm. It's intact, tumbling, but structurally whole. And Captain, it's broadcasting. Eric's felt several of his internal matrices shift alignment. A Catharian expression of concern. Broadcasting what? A repeating signal. Radio frequency. Incredibly inefficient propagation. The modulation suggests linguistic content. Teller paused, running it through the archive now. The archive was the pride of the Concordance, a vast repository containing linguistic, cultural, and biological data on every known species across 800 star systems and 3 million years of recorded history. If a language existed anywhere in explored space, the archive would recognize it. The bridge fell silent except for the soft harmonics of the ship's environmental systems. Eric's watched the probability matrices cascade across the display, each one eliminating possibilities, narrowing the field. The process should have taken seconds. It took 4 minutes. When the archive finally returned a result, it did so with a classification marker that Eric's had never seen outside of academic simulations. The holographic display flared crimson, and a warning symbol appeared, an ancient pictograph that the Concordance used only for the most extreme hazards. The skull of mortality. No, Eric's said, his crystalline structure ringing with disbelief. Verify that result. Verified 3 times, Teller responded, her sphere now cycling through rapid color changes that indicated severe stress. Captain, the linguistic pattern matches an archival entry designated as English Earth Standard. The vessel's trajectory traces back to stellar coordinates flagged as Sector 447 Gamma. Planetary designation. She paused. Terra, also known as Earth. The name fell across the bridge like a physical weight. Navigator Quinn's entire volume went perfectly still. That's impossible. Earth was quarantined 5,000 years ago. No vessel should exist outside the containment zone. What classification? Eric's asked, though he already knew the answer. Every child in the Concordance learned about the forbidden worlds in their earliest education cycles. Class-IV Deathworld, Teller confirmed. Gravity, 9.8 meters per second squared. Atmospheric oxygen content, 21%. Indigenous predator density, catastrophic. Evolutionary pressure index, terminal. The dominant species, her voice wavered, classified as apex persistence predators, bipedal. Endurance hunters. The archive lists them as unsuitable for contact under any circumstances. Eric's accessed his own archive link, pulling up the full file. What he saw made his matrices resonate with something uncomfortably close to fear.Earth. A world where the gravity alone would crush most concordance species. Where the atmosphere was so saturated with reactive oxygen that it would corrode unshielded technology within days. Where the dominant species had clawed its way to sentience through 2 million years of relentless predation, developing abstract reasoning not despite their violent nature, but because of it. A species that had mastered persistence, hunting the ability to chase prey for days, until it collapsed from exhaustion. A species that had survived ice ages, supervolcano eruptions, and countless extinction events that had wiped out softer, gentler forms of life. The Concordance had discovered Earth during a routine survey mission 3,000 years before Yrix's crystallization. The survey team had observed from a safe distance, watching in horrified fascination as humans so recently emerged from pre-industrial civilization had split the atom, reached their moon, and begun spreading throughout their star system with frightening speed. The Concordance Council had made an immediate decision: quarantine Earth, leave them alone. Hope they destroyed themselves before they developed faster-than-light travel. And yet here, impossibly, was a human vessel floating in deep space. Far beyond the quarantine zone, run a comprehensive bioscan, Eric's ordered. Maximum resolution. I need to know if this vessel is derelict or if we're about to have a very serious problem. Teller adjusted her instruments, directing the Vigilant Harmony's most sensitive scanners toward the tumbling vessel. The bioscanner was sophisticated enough to detect individual bacteria at a range of 10,000 kilometers. If anything living existed aboard that ancient ship, they would find it. The first scan returned empty. So did the second. No active biological signatures, Teller reported. The vessel appears to be. Wait. Her sphere flashed yellow. Detected. For distinct biosignatures. Captain, they're in some form of stasis. Metabolic activity nearly zero. Cellular decay suspended. But they're alive. Species confirmation? Eric's asked, though his matrices had already begun calculating the probability, cross-referencing with archived biological profiles. Teller's voice had gone flat. The modulation that indicated extreme stress in her species. Match confirmed. All four signatures are human. Captain, we have living humans aboard that vessel. For a long moment, nobody moved. The bridge of the Vigilant Harmony had become a tableau of frozen shock. Quinn was the first to speak, his liquid form roiling. Standard protocol is immediate sterilization. No exceptions. Standard protocol assumes active threat, Eric's countered. Though he wasn't sure why he was arguing. Perhaps it was scientific curiosity. Perhaps it was the simple fact that destroying sleeping beings felt uncomfortably close to murder. even if those beings were from a species that the Concordance had classified as too dangerous to contact. These humans are dormant. They may have been drifting for millennia, which makes them even more dangerous, Quinn insisted. If their stasis systems have maintained them for 5,000 years, their technology may be more advanced than our intelligence suggested. This could be a deliberate incursion beyond the quarantine zone. Or, Teller interjected quietly, it could be an accident, a failed mission, a ghost ship carrying the last remnants of a failed expedition. Eric's felt his decision matrices aligning. I'm escalating this to the High Council. This is far above our command authority. He opened a priority channel, encoding it with the highest security clearance available to a patrol captain. This is Captain Eric's of the Vigilant Harmony to Concordance High Council. I am transmitting data on a critical discovery. Human vessel detected outside quarantine zone. For human life signs confirmed in stasis. Requesting immediate guidance. The response came faster than Eric's had expected, within minutes rather than the usual hours. When the holographic projection materialized on the bridge, it showed the council chamber itself, with Arch and Velthar presiding. Velthar was ancient even by Concordance standards, a thought-weaver whose consciousness existed as a network of quantum-entangled particles, suspended in a containment field. When he spoke, his voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. Captain Eric's. Your report has caused considerable disruption to the Council's proceedings. Despite the words, Velthar's tone carried no reproach. We are reviewing your data now. Eric's waited while the Council accessed the sensor logs. He could imagine the chaos his report must have triggered. The discovery of a human vessel outside the quarantine zone violated every assumption the Concordance had made about Earth's technological development timeline. The biosignatures are confirmed human. Velthar asked, confirmed, Archon. For individuals in deep stasis, the vessel appears to be using primitive cryogenic technology frozen suspension, rather than the quantum stasis used by modern species. Remarkable that it functioned at all. Another council member observed. This was Scholar Neth, whose vast fungal network made her the Concordance's foremost xenobiologist. Cryogenic suspension causes massive cellular damage in most species. Humans must have extraordinary regenerative capabilities to survive the process. They're Deathworlders, a third voice interjected Admiral Corvin, the militaristic voice that always argued for aggressive solutions. Their cellular structure is designed to withstand constant damage and repair. It's one of the factors that makes them so dangerous or remarkable. Neff countered, this is an unprecedented scientific opportunity. When was the last time the Concordance had the chance to study a class for species under controlled conditions? Never, Velthar said, because we've never been foolish enough to try. The risk assessment is clear. With respect, Archon, Neff persisted. The risk assessment is theoretical. It's based on observations of human behavior in their natural environmental world of scarcity, competition, and constant threat. We have no data on how humans would behave when removed from those pressures. You're proposing we wake them up? Admiral Corvin's voice resonated with disbelief. On what basis? What if they're carriers of Deathworld pathogens? What if their mere presence destabilizes? The psychological balance of species evolved in gentler environments? Then we maintain containment protocols, Neff argued. Full quarantine, remote observation. We learn everything we can. The debate continued, voices overlapping, each council member bringing their own expertise and biases. Eric's listened, fascinated despite himself. This was history being made. Whatever decision the council reached would echo across the concordance for generations. Finally, Velthar's voice cut through the chaos. Enough. I will hear a proposal from Scholar Neff. Thank you, Archon. Neff's fungal network pulsed with barely contained excitement. I propose we transport the human vessel to Research Station Omega-7. It's our most isolated facility, positioned in interstellar space with no inhabited systems within 50 light-years. We establish maximum containment force fields, atmospheric separation, remote manipulation only. We revive the humans gradually, monitor their responses, and conduct comprehensive biological and psychological analysis. If at any point they demonstrate unmanageable hostile behavior, we can terminate the experiment. By terminate, Admiral Corvin said coldly. You mean kill them? I mean return them to stasis and resume the debate. Neff corrected. I'm a scientist, Admiral, not an executioner. Velthar's presence seemed to expand, filling the holographic space. Captain Erix, your opinion. You've been closer to these humans than anyone else in the concordance. What do your instincts tell you? Erix considered the question carefully. His species valued logic above emotion, but he understood what Velthar was really asking. Sometimes decision matrices and probability calculations weren't enough. Sometimes you needed intuition. Archon, I believe the greater risk lies in ignorance. If humans have achieved interstellar travel, even failed interstellar travel, they may eventually breach the quarantine zone intentionally. Better to understand them now, under controlled conditions, than to face them unprepared in the future. Velthar was silent for a long moment. Then, Scholar Neff, you will have your experiment. Captain Erix, you will transport the human vessel to Research Station Omega-7 under maximum security protocols. Tell no one outside this council what you're carrying. The galaxy is not ready for this information. And if word leaks anyway, Admiral Corvin asked. Then we hope, Velthar said quietly, that curiosity proves stronger than fear. The transit to Research Station Omega-7 took 6 days. 6 days during which Erix barely left the bridge, monitoring the human vessel that the Vigilant Harmony had taken in tow. 6 days of running every scan imaginable, trying to understand the impossible artifact they were transporting. The vessel was crude beyond belief. Its hull was actual metal plating, welded together like ancient armor. Its propulsion system used chemical rockets for maneuvering explosions, controlled by primitive computers. The life support systems were mechanical, relying on filters and scrubbers rather than biological recycling. By concordance standards, it was barely more sophisticated than a stone knife, and yet it had worked. For 5,000 years, this impossibly primitive vessel had kept for humans alive in the cold void of space. That fact alone spoke to a kind of stubborn resilience that Erix found both admirable and terrifying. Research Station. Omega-7 came into view on the sixth day, a massive installation hanging in the void between stars. Its modular structure expanding across 30 cubic kilometers of space. As the vigilant Harmony approached, Erix could see the special containment sector that had been prepared, a sealed dome, independently powered, with enough force fields and security measures to contain a small supernova. "Captain," Teller said softly, "I'm detecting significant M activity from the station. Encrypted civilian channels. Meaning someone leaked the story. The media knows." Erix felt his matrices shift into a pattern of resignation. Of course they knew. The Council might have wanted secrecy, but the sheer number of personnel involved in preparing the research station made that impossible. By now, every news service in the Concordance would be racing to cover the story. Humans. Living humans. Coming to the heart of civilized space. As the vigilant Harmony docked and began the delicate process of transferring the human vessel into containment, Erix accessed the public feeds. The reaction was exactly what he'd feared. Panic mixed with fascination. Calls to destroy the vessel immediately. Demands for maximum transparency. Speculation about what horrors the humans might unleash. One feed caught his attention, a popular science broadcaster named Trixana, whose crystalline structure was even more elaborate than Erix's own. She was addressing her audience with unusual gravity. "Today, the Concordance faces a question we have never confronted. What do we do when we encounter not just alien life, but genuinely dangerous alien life? These humans come from a world that would kill most of us in minutes. They evolved as predators in an environment of constant threat. And now, four of them are being brought to our most secure research facility. And we must ask ourselves, are we studying them, or are we inviting catastrophe?" She paused, her facets refracting light in a pattern that conveyed deep uncertainty. "I don't have an answer, but I suspect that before this is over, these four humans will teach us something profound about ourselves, about our fear, our curiosity, and what it truly means to be civilized when facing the unknown." Erix disconnected from the feed and watched as the human vessel was secured in its containment dome. Inside that ancient ship, four beings slept, unaware that they had become the most famous and feared creatures in the galaxy. Tomorrow, Scholar Neff would begin the revival process. Tomorrow, for the first time in Concordance history, humans and the civilized galaxy would meet face to face. Erix found himself cycling through a prayer his crystallization mother had taught him millennia ago, a simple request to the mathematical constants that governed reality. Let us have the wisdom to understand what we're about to discover. In the containment dome, frost patterns glittered on the human vessel's hull, and somewhere deep inside, for heartbeats waited to resume their ancient rhythm, the galaxy held its breath. The cold retreated slowly, replaced by pain that felt like fire crawling through frozen veins. Captain Marcus Chen's first conscious thought was that he was dying. His second thought was that dying shouldn't hurt this much. "Vitals stabilizing," a voice said, distant and distorted. "Neurological activity increasing. Captain Chen, if you can hear me, try to move your right hand." Marcus tried. His fingers twitched weakly, sending fresh waves of agony up his arm. He forced his eyes open and immediately regretted it as harsh light stabbed into his retinas. "Easy, Captain." The voice belonged to Dr. Sarah Okonkwo, their mission biologist. She swam into focus above him, her dark features creased with concern. "You've been under for a while. Cryosickness is normal." "How long?" Marcus croaked, his throat raw. Sarah hesitated, and in that hesitation, Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach that had nothing to do with the cryogenic revival. "How long, Sarah?" 5,217 years, she said quietly. "Give or take a few decades." The ship's chronometer degraded significantly. The words made no sense. They couldn't make sense. Marcus tried to sit up, failed, and Sarah helped him into a semi-reclined position. The cryo bay came into focus, their small, cramped cryo bay aboard the Magellan, humanity's first interstellar vessel. Except something was wrong. The walls were covered in equipment that hadn't been there before. Monitoring systems, cameras, and beyond the viewport. "Where are we?" Marcus whispered. "That's the complicated part," a new voice said. Engineer Raj Patel appeared at the foot of Marcus's cryopod, looking haggard but functional. "We're not where we're supposed to be, Captain. Not even close." The fourth member of their crew, pilot Elena Volkov, stood near the viewport, staring out at something Marcus couldn't see from his angle. When she turned to look at him, her expression was carefully neutral, the face she wore when things had gone catastrophically wrong. And she was trying not to panic. "Someone want to tell me what the hell happened?" Marcus demanded, finding strength in anger. Sarah pulled up a portable screen. "When we launched from Earth, our mission was straightforward. Reach Proxima Centauri. Establish proof of concept for cryogenic interstellar travel. Return home as heroes. Trip time, 60 years total. Subjective experience about 6 hours." She paused. "Something went wrong 30 minutes after we entered cryo. The navigation system suffered a cascade failure. The ship's AI tried to compensate, but without conscious oversight, it made an error. Instead of decelerating at Proxima, we continued accelerating." "For how long?" Marcus asked, though he was beginning to understand. "Best we can determine, about 400 years. We crossed half the galaxy before the fuel finally ran out, and we started coasting." Roger's voice was admirably steady. "We've been drifting for another 4,800 years. The cryo system stayed active the whole time, running on backup power, and the ship's deteriorating reactor." Marcus felt the world tilt. 5,000 years. Everyone he knew was dead. His parents, his sister, his niece who'd been 3 years old when he left, who'd cried and made him promise to come back soon. All of them gone. Not just dead dust. Their bones had turned to powder millennia ago. "Earth," he managed. "What happened to Earth?" The silence that followed was answer enough. "We don't know," Sarah admitted. "We've been trying to access astronomical databases, but our equipment is so outdated that we can't interpret most modern signals. What we do know is that something catastrophic happened. We've detected no radio signals, no electromagnetic signatures consistent with human civilization. Just silence." Elena finally spoke, her Russian accent thicker than usual, a sign of stress. "We are last, Captain. Last for humans in universe. Maybe, before Marcus could process that devastating possibility. The cryo-bay's main display flickered to life. A holographic interface materialized technology far beyond anything that had existed when they'd launched, and standing in that hologram was something that definitely wasn't human. The being appeared to be made of countless tiny particles suspended in a luminous field, forming a vaguely humanoid shape wrapped in flowing robes. When it spoke, the sound came from everywhere at once, translated into English by systems Marcus didn't understand. Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Archon Velthar of the Galactic Concordance. You are currently aboard your vessel, which has been secured within our research station Omega-7 for your protection and ours. Please remain calm. We mean you no harm, but we must conduct certain safety protocols before we can allow direct contact. The tone was careful, measured, and utterly condescending, like someone speaking to a dangerous animal they were trying not to spook. Marcus found his voice. Where is Earth? What happened to our planet? Velthar's form pulsed in what might have been sympathy. We will answer all your questions in time. For now, please understand that you are safe. You will be provided for, but you must remain in your vessel until we complete our biological assessments. Biological assessments? Sarah's scientific curiosity cut through her grief. What are you looking for? Pathogens, contaminants, psychological stability markers. Velthar paused. You come from what we classify as a Class-IV Deathworld. We must ensure you pose no threat to other species before allowing broader contact. Class-IV Deathworld. Raj repeated. What the hell does that mean? But Velthar's hologram had already vanished, leaving them alone with questions and the dawning realization that they weren't just the last humans, they were specimens, dangerous curiosities to be studied from a safe distance. Well, Marcus said into the silence, this is officially the worst day of my life. Technically, Eleanor pointed out, is 5,000 years of worst days all at once. Despite everything, Marcus almost smiled. The observation period began immediately. Cameras tracked their every move. Sensors monitored their vital signs, their conversations, even their sleep patterns. The four of them were confined to the Magellan, which now sat in the center of an enormous containment dome that the aliens had constructed around them. Through the viewports, they could see the research station beyond a vast complex of impossible architecture, filled with beings that defied description. Creatures made of light, of liquid, of crystalline structures and living gas clouds. The Concordance, they learned, was a civilization of thousands of species, spread across hundreds of star systems, united by principles of logic, peace, and scientific advancement. And they thought humans were monsters. Listen to this. Sarah said on their third day of captivity, reading from a translated document that had been provided to them. Human beings, bipedal endurance predators, evolved under extreme gravitational and atmospheric stress, characterized by exceptional physical resilience, rapid healing, high pain tolerance, and psychological adaptability bordering on disturbing. Notable traits include persistence, hunting, the ability to pursue prey until it dies of exhaustion, and a disturbing tendency toward creative violence. Approach with extreme caution. Creative violence? Raj shook his head. They make us sound like serial killers. To them, we might as well be, Eleanor said. She'd been studying the star charts they'd been given access to. I've been reading about other species, most evolved on worlds with fraction of Earth's gravity, lower oxygen, fewer predators. They grew up in paradise compared to us. From their perspective, we're from literal hell. Marcus understood what she wasn't saying. To the concordance, Earth was Deathworld, and they were death incarnate. The realization should have made him angry. Instead, he found it grimly amusing. Humanity had always wondered how they'd measure up against alien civilizations. Would they be primitive savages or worthy peers? The answer, apparently, was terrifying. On the 5th day, Scholar Neff requested a direct interview. She appeared as a hologram in the Magellan's Common Area vast network of fungal structures that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. "I hope my presence doesn't distress you," she said, her translated voice warm and curious. "I'm the Concordance's lead xenobiologist. I've studied thousands of species, but I've never had the opportunity to speak with a Class-IV entity. I have so many questions." Sarah, ever the scientist, leaned forward. "We have questions too, starting with, why do you keep us locked up?" "For everyone's safety," Neff replied. "Your physical capabilities alone make you dangerous. Did you know that your bone density is 3 times the concordance average? That your muscular strength in our standard station gravity would allow you to easily overpower most security personnel? Your immune system is so aggressive that you carry bacteria that would be lethal to 70% of known species. We're not trying to hurt anyone." Marcus said, "I believe you, but belief isn't the same as certainty." Neff's fungal network rippled. "May I ask you a personal question, Captain Chen? When you encounter a problem, what is your first instinct?" Marcus considered. "Assess the situation, identify the obstacle, remove it, and if removal requires force, then you use force efficiently, decisively." Neff's bioluminescence flickered in what might have been satisfaction. "Do you see? To you, that's pragmatism. To most concordance species, it's terrifying. We spend years in consensus building and conflict mediation. You leap straight to action. It's a fundamental difference in psychology, born from your world's demands. So what happens now?" Raj asked. "Do we spend the rest of our lives in this box?" "That depends on you," Neff said. "Prove you can integrate safely, and the concordance will welcome you. Prove otherwise." She didn't finish the sentence after she disconnected. The 4 of them sat in heavy silence. "We need to give them something," Sarah finally said. "Some gesture that shows we're not mindless brutes." "Like what?" Eleanor asked. "Flower arrangement? Interpretive dance? Information?" Raj said suddenly. He'd been quiet during the interview, but now his eyes were bright with an idea. "We're 5,000 years out of date, but we still know things they don't. Earth sciences, engineering principles, cultural knowledge. We make ourselves useful. We become assets instead of threats." Marcus nodded slowly. Scholar Neff said she had questions. "Let's give her answers. All of them. Full cooperation. Complete transparency, except for one thing," Sarah said quietly. They all looked at her. "Before we were revived, I managed to access the ship's deep storage. There's something the Concordance doesn't know about yet. She pulled up a schematic on her tablet. The Magellan wasn't just a test vessel. Hidden in the lower cargo bay, behind the fuel cells, there's a biological archive. Frozen embryos, genetic samples, complete genomic libraries for thousands of Earth species. Marcus felt his heart accelerate. How many human embryos? 200 viable samples, plus the complete human genome sequenced and stored. With the right equipment, Sarah's voice caught. We could restart our species. The four of us aren't the end. We're the beginning. The weight of that revelation settled over them. They weren't just survivors. They were custodians of humanity's future. We keep that secret, Marcus decided. For now, until we understand what we're dealing with. Agreed. Three heads nodded in unison outside their viewport. The Concordance watched and wondered about the monsters from Earth, inside the Magellan. For humans began planning not just for survival, but for resurrection. The breakthrough came on day 12, and it came from an unexpected direction. Research Station Omega-7 experienced a cascade failure in its tertiary power grid. A microscopic flaw in a quantum regulator had propagated through the system, causing a chain reaction that threatened to destabilize the entire sector's energy distribution. The station's automated safety systems engaged, trying to reroute power and isolate the fault. They failed. The problem was too chaotic, too rapidly evolving for the elegant solutions the Concordance systems were designed to implement. Within minutes, the cascade was spreading toward the main reactor. If it reached core systems, the resulting explosion would destroy the station and everyone aboard. From the Magellan, the four humans watched in growing horror as alien crew members evacuated. As emergency klaxons blared across every communication channel. "They can't stop it," Raj said. His engineers are passing the technical readouts that were being broadcast on emergency channels. Their safety systems are too specialized. They're trying to surgically repair the damage, but it's spreading faster than they can contain. "Can we help?" Marcus asked. "If they'd let us out of this damn box, maybe." Raj pulled up a schematic he'd been studying. "This is old-school cascade failure, the kind we used to get on early fusion reactors before we developed robust fail-safes. The solution isn't elegant. You have to brute force interrupt the power flow. Let the system hard reset." "Brute force," Sarah repeated. "Our specialty." Marcus made a decision. He opened a communication channel to station control. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the Magellan. We can help with the power cascade. Let us out and give us access to the reactor controls." The response came from Archon Velthar himself. "Absolutely not. The risk is too great. The risk is that your station explodes in the next 8 minutes." Marcus shot back. "We know how to fix this. It's primitive engineering compared to your systems. But primitive is exactly what you need right now. You could sabotage the entire station." "We could," Marcus agreed. "Or we could save everyone's lives and prove we're worth keeping around. Your choice, Archon. But make it fast. 5 seconds of silence. Then you will have access to a remote terminal only. One of you under full guard supervision. Any aggressive action will result in immediate termination. Raj, Marcus said. "You're up." The airlock cycled for the first time since they'd been brought aboard. Raj stepped out into the containment dome, flanked by 6 guards whose weapons were trained on him with unsettling precision. He was led to a terminal where a holographic interface materialized. "Show me the reactor architecture," Raj said, his voice steady despite the guns pointed at his head. The schematic appeared. Raj studied it for 30 seconds, his mind racing through calculations. Then he started typing, his fingers moving with absolute confidence. "What are you doing?" one of the guards demanded, its translated voice tight with suspicion. "Manual override. I'm going to force dump the tertiary grid's charge into emergency capacitors. Then cold cycle the entire system. It'll cause a station-wide power outage for about 90 seconds, but it'll stop the cascade. That's incredibly dangerous." "So it's exploding," Raj pointed out. 5 minutes left. "Do you want to evacuate or do you want to let me work?" The guard fell silent. Raj executed the sequence. On displays across the station, engineers watched in horror as this Deathworlder deliberately crashed their entire power grid. The lights went out. Life support switched to battery backup, and in the reactor core, the cascade stuttered, lost its momentum, and collapsed. 93 seconds later, the grid came back online, clean, stable, safe. Raj looked up at the guards, his dark eyes calm. "Station saved. You're welcome." The incident changed everything. Within hours, footage of Raj's intervention had spread across the Concordance. The narrative shifted from dangerous monsters to strange saviors. Public opinion began to turn. Scholar Neth arrived at the Magellan personally this time, not as a hologram but in the flesh, or rather, in the fungus. Her vast mycelial network had been transported in a specialized environmental suit. "That was remarkable," she said. "Your engineer solved in minutes what our best minds couldn't crack in hours." "How different thinking," Sarah explained. "You're used to elegant solutions in controlled environments. We're used to making broken things work under terrible conditions. It's a survival trait from your Deathworld," Neth said slowly. A new understanding was forming in her voice. "What we've been calling your curse might actually be your greatest strength. Maybe," Marcus said. "Or maybe we're just good at chaos because chaos is all we've ever known." That night, for the first time since their revival, the 4 humans slept without the weight of fear pressing down on them. They'd proven their worth. They'd shown the Concordance that humans weren't just monsters from a nightmare world. They were survivors, problem solvers, allies, and somewhere in the Magellan's hidden cargo bay, 200 frozen embryos waited for a future that suddenly seemed possible.